Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a follow-up to my chat entitled To Hell with Young People about classical music and its majority audience, let us just say, because there are a few clarifications I want to make. First of all, I just want to say that I am so thrilled with the response that I got for this little video. I know the title was provocative and all that, but what really dazzled me, and I am very serious about this, was the thoughtfulness with which so many of you responded and participated in the conversation. And just in a day, I mean, it's ongoing. But it's so gratifying to me. I am so interested in hearing what your opinions were about these issues and how you all came to classical music and what effect it has on you and your life and your view of it. And it's marvelous. It's such a resource of truly useful, interesting, sincere, intelligent information that it not only teaches me and helps me hopefully to target what I do more effectively, but my God, if record executives don't look at this stuff and learn from it. I mean, now we know why the classical music industry is such a shit show. I mean, seriously. The answers are right there. You know, they don't need to do stupid marketing surveys. They just need to talk to you people out there and get your views on what role this music plays in your life and how you understand it and why you listen to it and how you came to listen to it. I mean, and performing arts people. I mean, my God, what a resource your views are. And I'm so thrilled to be able to participate in this sort of dialogue with you all. I'm touched and honored. I'm really excited. I mean, I hope you can see that. I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. You are just the best group of people I have ever encountered. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, really, for being so thoughtful in your responses and so damn intelligent. Gosh, it's so heartening. I hope all of you out there do look through the comments because it should be such a fabulous, positive experience for all of us to realize that there is a genuine community out there of mostly senior, yes, and quite a few actually young people. You know, that's the second point I wanted to mention. The fact that I called it provocatively To Hell with Young People, of course, doesn't mean that young people shouldn't participate, because I was a young person when I got into classical music. I've been into it since I was 6. I mean, that's just the way it happened. There will always be a bunch of people who are naturally drawn to it. I said that. I mean, it happens. It's a minority, but it happens. But my point was that, well, there are two of them that I think I really want to stress just a little bit with a little bit more clarity than perhaps I originally did. The first of them is that there is nothing wrong with educating people about classical music. I'm totally in favor of that. Totally, completely. I think it's part, as I said, of a well-rounded education. I don't believe it should be force-fed. I think there is a natural group of people who will gravitate towards it. All they need is exposure. And nowadays, one of you commented that you thought that was decreasing. I don't believe that. I think it's increasing. And I think the internet has been fabulous for that. I mean, we may poo-poo the way that people listen. You know, that they're only listening to individual tracks, and that doesn't lead to, complete works, and sitting with your hands folded at a concert like this and being in utter silence. You know, I don't think we have any right to set acceptable parameters for how people digest classical music. I don't care. I don't care at all. I don't care if it's in movies or in television commercials. I don't care if it's played by a kazoo orchestra. I don't care whether they're listening to it on little iPods, that they're only listening to one movement of something and they hate the rest of it. I don't think any of that matters. What matters is that it's out there. What matters is that people have access. What matters is that they have a reason to use those channels of access. And like I said, the number of people who are going to go for it with the seriousness and intensity that we do, or a lot of us do, is always going to be a minority. Always. But we're not better because we're a minority. We aren't. We're not. I mean, it's not superior. It's not a question of, elitism or snobbery about it. And I detest that. I really do. What matters is that people listen. However they do it, on whatever terms they do it, I'm fine with it. And right now, in this particular day and age, we have more avenues of access and more ways to enjoy the music than at any time in human history, at any time in the past, and for less cost. Now, does that make for a healthy record industry? No. Does that make for a healthy performing arts industry? No. All of those are different issues. They're different issues. But on those topics, and this is sort of the other clarification I want to make, it seems to me, I was very, very interested in how immediately you all sort of seized on the how do we approach the problem of youth, of dealing with youth and educating young people. And I don't care about that. As I said before, I mean, is it an issue? Well, I mean, it's an issue to the extent education generally is an issue. Is it a unique issue to music? No, it's not. It isn't at all. And like I said, as long as people have access, I don't think that anything needs to be shoved down anybody's throat. I do think that the real question that I was trying to get at was not the problem with young people at all. It was the problem with old people. It was, why is it that the record industry does not serve its majority audience? That it doesn't do the things that older, more experienced, relaxed, tasteful, intelligent people with significant resources and disposable income, why are they not targeted? They are targeted to a certain extent by the performing arts organizations because they're always grasping at money and they don't want to deal with poor people or young people or people who aren't going to throw money at them. That is one thing. But the record industry specifically, why can't they get it into their heads that the people who buy this stuff are old or older or getting older and will only increase by and large? Not all of you. I know. I was one of the young ones. There are young ones out there. But why don't they focus and target on their true market? I find that unaccountable. I mean, completely incomprehensible. It's marketing 101. Who is your market? How are you going to sell to them? What are you going to do to make their job easier? I'm just puzzled, completely puzzled. And that was the inspiration behind the talk, not to deal specifically with the issue of getting more young people into classical music, because I think young people are going to find what they find. And I'm confident about that. Some of you expressed the idea that, classical music is in trouble. I don't think it's in trouble. I don't think it's in trouble. I don't think there's any crisis. I think it's all bullshit. I think nothing classical music people like to do, there's nothing that classical music people like to do, more people in the business, than whine and moan. I mean, in the record industry, they whine and moan because they're like 3% or 2% of the market for recorded music. And so they're always on the outs. They're always minorities, and they're always, on the abyss of economic, the economic apocalypse is always happening. In the performing arts industry, it's even worse. It's even worse because they believe they're God's gift to culture and that the universe deserves, they deserve to have the universe, come worship at their palace of art and fling money at them. And the flow of money is always in one direction. I mean, I was always in favor. I've suggested this just to be a little bit provocative at meetings with performing arts organizations. I mean, we once met the Met Opera Guild, and I said to them, "Why don't you give people money back guarantees? If the performance sucks, tell them you'll give them a ticket to another performance of their choice. You know, subject to availability, of course." And they just look at me like I'm on drugs, like I'm completely crazy. I mean, if you can't get to a concert, right, you buy a ticket and for some reason you can't go, what do they tell you? They don't say, if you let us know within 24 hours, we'll give you your money back. No, they say you can donate your ticket for a tax-deductible contribution to our fabulous organization. These people will never let go of a cent. And the fact of the matter is there's far too much money in the performing arts. Way too much. There are way too many artists. There are too many organizations. There's too much stuff out there. And none of them are making any effort, really. I mean, an effort that I regard as a serious effort to grow their audience or to reach new audiences, other than the occasional, outreach to young people or whatever nonsense they have to do to justify their federal grant or whatever they're doing. Or in Germany, for example, where they all have to start making records, putting out record labels to justify their tax subsidies. I mean, some of these things, the concept is okay, but the way they handle it is just moronic, because at heart, they don't believe that they should need to do anything. They believe that people should just shower gold on top of them, as in, the Strauss opera, what is it, Die Liebe der Donna, just gold should come raining down upon them just because they exist. And the fact is, they don't have any right to exist. They don't. If they can't justify their existence by appealing to enough people, then they do not deserve to exist. And I am totally a capitalist when it comes to these things. I really, really am. I know that there are some things that will never make money, that are always money losers, like opera. There are some things that, for cultural reasons, should survive. I agree with that. But, if you want opera to survive for cultural reasons, there should be one opera house. That's it. That's all we need. And the culture of opera will survive. That can be the pinnacle of operadom in whatever country or continent it's on. And no one needs to see it. No one needs to deal with it. They can broadcast or stream performances, and all of those other local organizations and individual groups, and the 400,000 of them, can vanish, and I would not shed a tear. Not a tear, because they need to justify their existence by appealing to the audience. And I truly, truly believe that. And so I want that to be clear too. I really wrote that editorial from a purely economic perspective. Why can't these people make a decent business? Because I believe that they can. I truly believe that they can. And the first way that I think that they can is to be honest about what the product is. That's why all of this, dumbing down and genre mixing, and, at the end of the day, a Mozart symphony is just a Mozart symphony. It's designed only to be listened to, not watched, not, set to a something else. While I have no issue with it being used in daily life, in popular culture, in all of those things, that's all fine. But I also believe simultaneously that the biggest issue with classical music is not an issue specifically with classical music. It isn't. It's the notion that it's not enough to just listen, that our ears do not provide all of the necessary information we need to be completely and totally captivated, entertained, sated, and all of those things. I mean, people just don't believe that. They don't. They don't. It's that simple. And they don't believe it about anything, not just classical music. MTV exists because popular songs, it was thought, do not contain enough musical substance to entertain people absent a visual element. And people would rather have a visual element. Everybody wants to know what the story is behind the music. Well, if you are honest, I believe, I may be wrong because it's never been tried. If you're honest and you say to people, just come and listen. That's all you have to do. No, we are not the most photogenic people in the world. Watching all those videos of concerts, there's nothing I hate more than a DVD of a classical concert. Who wants to stare at these unattractive people dripping saliva out of their valves in the brass section and poking and twitching and the oboist like this, and it's just completely unattractive as far as I'm concerned. And what's even worse is when they force someone else's images of other things on you. You get to see like Smetana's from Bohemia's Woods and Fields with pictures of Bohemia's Woods and Fields. No! Our imaginations are all we need. I think we are really selling the intelligence of the audience short when we don't tell them honestly and in truth. All you have to do is listen. Just come and listen. It's enough. It will be enough. I guarantee you it will be enough. Sure, you can give a talk beforehand. Sure, you can do all of those things. Whatever you need to do to convince people that the act of listening is sufficient. But that should be what the goal is. That's what I hope these talks are for. What you're getting from these videos, it's that this is all you need are a pair of ears and time. And one of you wrote that you don't have any music education and you're just a blue collar person and all that. You don't need that. The music educates you itself. It's its own self-contained educational medium. And all you need is the willingness to listen and the time to do it. And that's what I keep coming back to as all of these talks, they may have all kinds of different angles, right? And ways into the topic and issues about the topic. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, the bottom line is that listening is sufficient. And with classical music, it's classical because it requires, in a sense, the most listening and the most time, because they're often large works. Sometimes they're not. There's comes in every shape and size. But the great monumental works of classical music require the time and a certain amount of perhaps willingness and intelligence and background. I don't know about what music is, about what music can do. See, the problem isn't a classical problem. It's a music problem. Music is ubiquitous in our society, but our understanding of it and our understanding of what it is and what it does is almost completely superficial. And so, yeah, I think people should be educated and trained in music. I don't care whether it's classical or not. That all sorts itself out. It always does. And it always will. I don't think we need to worry about that stuff. We have to make a real distinction. And I say this in closing because this is already going to be another long talk. I don't want it to be that long. We have to make a distinction between the economic crisis that the people in the business want us to believe is happening. And for them, classical music is a perpetual crisis. And it's such a turnoff. I mean, who wants to hear these people whining constantly? It's just one giant moan. And it's always about the same thing. There's enough money, there's enough interest, there aren't enough people. Well, that's their fault. Screw them. I can do another editorial. To hell with the people in the music business, because that's their problem. And if they are too incompetent to solve it, then screw it. Then they're all going to be out of business. Let them go find something else to do with their lives. But the problem of music, it's not a crisis. It shouldn't even be it shouldn't even be framed in that way. It should be looked at as an opportunity to introduce people to an absolutely amazing medium that offers so much more than most people typically get out of it. And I think that should be our approach. That should be our line. That's something that I think we as people who love music, forget whether it's classical or not, but music for itself, that's something that we we need to focus on. And that's something that we can say and talk about, and I think present in a wholly positive way, in a way that makes people feel good about their ability to extract more entertainment value, more emotional value out of the time that they spend listening. I mean, that's what I have dedicated my life to doing, and that's what I see so many of you doing. And that's what makes this such a joy for all of us. I mean, I know when you have something that you love, and I'm going to close, I really am, with this last thought. When you have something that you love, you want to share it. You want other people to feel what you feel. And you want to be able to describe it and explain it. And that's the key. That's the key. How do we go out into the world and share this magnificent universe of music that we know it is out there, that's done so much for us, and that is only a positive force in the world, in a world that needs as many positive forces as it can get? That's the question. That's the question we all need to answer. It's not about the youth problem. It's not about, and the economics, the business side, which is what I was writing about, is really a different problem. But it fascinated me to see how quickly you immediately looked at that way. Okay, yeah, we went beyond the business problem and talked about the personal meaning of this music to you and to me and to everybody potentially. It's great stuff. Great stuff. So thank you. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching these. Thank you for participating. Let's just keep on listening. And if we do that, we will make America classical again. I guarantee it. Take care and just thank you. Thank you again.